Yo, what's up, YouTube? This is your boy. Today is Monday, and I got two new exciting back to back episodes. They're both going to premiere on two different YouTube channels. So it's going to be two videos. Both the videos are going to be on both my premiere channels. Now, these are new concept videos that I've wanted to make. They're like, what's the word I'm looking for? They're like 6 years in the making, even though my career on YouTube only took off like 4 or 5 years ago. These are like 6 years in the making. I've been wanting to make these concept videos for years, and I was told by people, you got to wait until you get popular, get some views, get some attraction for your videos before you can just up and make this type of YouTube video. And we're finally going to make this video. Now, keep in mind, it's going to be maybe three videos: a part one, a part two, and a part three, because each time I dive into a category, it's going to be the same subject, but it's going to be a different category. This first one is about multi billionaires. The second one is going to be billionaires, but it's going to be on a specific category of billionaires. And then, of course, it's going to be the third one's going to be about women being billionaires, because, there is that too. And a lot of people don't know that until I do the research. This was hard to do. I just want you to know, this was a very hard list to put together. The reason why the videos never got made last year was because there was a lot of names to consider. And when you're considering a lot of names, I had to do the list over like 5 times last year, and then it just wasn't coming out right. And this was a video that my dad suggested I would give y'all, and my friends suggest the same thing. And then finally, we got to the point where I said, you know what? It's January. Let's go ahead and drop the video and see what the critical reception is. Some of y'all will like the title. Some of y'all will hate the title. Some of y'all will like the video. Some of y'all will not like the video. Some of y'all will be decided on the video. Some of y'all will have your issues with the video. Like I said, it was not easy to put this list together. Now, there's more than 10 people that are multi-billionaires worldwide. So please don't pick on me. I said I was going to make three videos. And in the same week, I have other video projects that I'm not even finished on. I made part one to those other videos. Part twos will be coming this week. But this is the first video. And then you're going to get part one and part two of the billionaires like back to back. And then somewhere, I think either a Wednesday or a Thursday, I have to take a break to write out a script for that video. Because if I make a video called Women Billionaires, I want it to be good. I don't want to put out no crap video and then people go, man, you put out a crap video. We did that last year, and a lot of people were complaining the second half of the year that I was putting out crap videos. And we want to learn from our mistakes on putting out some good videos and then putting out crap videos. Like the first 6 to 7 months, we were putting out the best content. And in the second half, we were putting out crap videos. And y'all know what I'm talking about, because a lot of people came to me behind the scenes and expressed their expectations of what they expect for this year. So I have some high expectations that people expect me to give the best of the best content and not crap videos. So this one's going to be called Sex Game, the Billionaires Boys Club. That's called Sex Game, the Billionaires Boys Club 1, for women and for men. Anyone can watch this video, young or old, black or white, male or female. When you see the title and the description, the video is gender neutral. Anyone can watch. All right, now these are the best multi-billionaires in the world. You've seen these people as public figures. You've seen them on the news. You've seen actors play these people in movies and television shows. They've even appeared in television and film. They've been on TV talk shows. A lot of them are entrepreneurs, inventors. Some have redefined what it means to be great. Some of them are web designers. Some of them are computer technicians. Some of them are film directors. Some of them are business tycoons, business real estate. And somehow, some way, they've massed a huge fortune, and they've entered into a group that we call the Billionaires Boys Club. It's a name that's been going around forever, way before I was born. Before my dad was born, they had like three associations: Billionaire Boys Club, the $1 million boys club, and the $1,000 boys club, which nobody, and I mean nobody, wants to be a part of the $1,000 boys club. That's like, third place in the Olympics. You know what I mean when I say that. All right, coming in at number 10 is my man Ted Turner. Turner Classic up in here. Now, Ted Turner has been a multi-billionaire for like 4 decades. I mean, not one, not two, not three. This man's been around for 4 decades. He has created a wealth that will last until they reboot all of the Marvel movies. Like, you see how we got Spider-Man, right? Well, they probably might reboot Spider-Man 10 times in the next 20 years, and guy will still be a billionaire. This guy started off doing a Fortune 500 company for 10 years. Then he ended up becoming CEO. He became president of the company. Then he had his own company. Then he created Ted Turner. And then this guy loved animation so much that he appeared in a cartoon in the late 80s, early 90s called Captain Planet because he loved the environment so much that he became an environmentalist. Then he became a philanthropist. Then he became a businessman, a business executive. Then he started buying real estate and property. So he started buying houses, doubling the price, and he became a multimillionaire. And then all of a sudden, before we can blink an eye, he bought a baseball team called the Atlanta Braves. Then he turns around and buys a professional basketball team called the Atlanta Hawks. Then he turns around and buys a professional football team. Now, what person do you know can have a football team, basketball team, baseball team, buy real estate, have his own company, get a cartoon of a cartoon version of himself, and do all of this in 20 years? And then fast forward to 4 decades later, he buys his own piece of land. Then he's a media tycoon, has his own television channel. Perhaps you've heard of it. Turner Classic, TTNT, TBS, and then decides to go one step further than that. Enter into the world of professional wrestling and entertainment, WCW, World Champion Wrestling, and signs one of the biggest wrestlers at that time to one of the hottest, biggest contracts in professional wrestling, Hulk, and then turns around and signs Macho Man and created a phenomenon. If you're a wrestling fan, created something called the Monday Night Wars. Every time you turn on Monday Night Raw, it was the NBA, the NFL, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and then you had to watch Monday Night Raw, and then there was WCW, all in one Monday. You know how much television that was for me to watch on TV? That was like 4 hours of television. And there were a lot of times where I couldn't even watch the Monday Night Wars because I would watch the first hour of WCW and I would watch the next 25, 30 minutes of Raw, and then it was time to go to sleep and get ready for school. Now, towards me graduating, me headed towards my second year in high school, the Monday Night Wars was over. But he entered into wrestling and he got a piece of the wrestling pie. And then he comes back and gets TNA. He sells TNA. A lot of people don't know the story because I had a friend that's in television news journalist, and he told me the story that him and Dixie Carter were business partners for like 25 years. So you do your research, you're going to find out that Ted Turner had ties to a lot of stuff. I'm serious. This guy has a baseball team, football team, basketball team. He did wrestling. He has a cartoon about him. Captain Planet. It's still on television to this very day. You could probably type up Ted Turner action figure with Captain Planet toy set, and you probably might find a toy of Ted Turner. And that toy ain't for cheap. So, congratulations to my man Ted Turner, well deserved billionaire. All right, coming in at number 9 is George Lucas. We all know who George Lucas is. Anyone who's anyone knows who George Lucas is, whether you were in the 1970s, the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s, the mid to late 2000s. He's made Star Wars a phenomenon franchise. Makes six films, turns around, makes some television specials, turns around, makes some comic books, makes video games, turns around and has Lucas Institute. What film director do you know that becomes a billionaire, has his own film company, distributes his own films, and makes money off of that? And then it could be 30, 40 years later, no matter how old those Star Wars films are, he still gets checks in the mail. This guy walks out the house to get a breath of fresh air. Here comes a mailman with three checks on his name. And it's for those Star Wars films. Then you turn around, you start buying Star Wars video games, there goes another check in the mail. And the fact that he did that makes him a genius. And the fact that without George Lucas, there would be no Star Wars. If it weren't for George Lucas, there would be no Darth Vader. There would be no Darth Maul, no Luke Skywalker. There would probably be no Mandalorian. There would probably be none of those things if it weren't for George Lucas. And the fact that he is on this list is because Star Wars has become a big part of my life. Not just Dragon Ball Z, not just Power Rangers, not just wrestling and sports, but Star Wars itself. Because if it weren't for Star Wars, I would have never watched Star Trek. I would have never watched Battlestar Galactica. I probably would have never watched Power Rangers. It all started with Star Wars. It was a part of my childhood. My dad did have me grow up on watching the original trilogy of Star Wars. Star Wars Episode 4, New Hope, Star Wars Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back, Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, and then of course we have the prequels, which is not as good as the original trilogy, but if it weren't for that, for being a part of my childhood, so I would say thank you, George Lucas. All right, coming at number 8 is his best friend, who's also a multi-billionaire film director, and he's one of my favorite film directors, and he inspired me to want to get into television and film, and that is Steven Spielberg. Guy's been around for 4 decades. The guy knows how to write, produce, write, and direct feature-length films, television and film, has his own production film company. Perhaps you've heard of it, DreamWorks. And the guy is also a video game developer as a web developer. Developed his own video game software. Who do you know turns around after they already made it big in Hollywood and decides, I want to create something else? It's like you look at Steve Jobs and you look at Steven Spielberg, these two are similar. They don't stop. It's like with Steven Spielberg, he keeps going and keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. Like there's just no signs of him slowing down. If he says he's gonna make a movie, he makes the movie. Indiana Jones, Jurassic Park, Jaws, those war epics. And of course, he's good at making actors into household names. Look what he did for Tom Hanks' career. Look what he did for Tom Cruise's career. This guy turns a star into a superstar overnight. And didn't have movies that break $1 billion. You can't tell me that when he starts directing war epics, they make billions of dollars. Where movies like Jurassic Park might make 150 million or 250 million, his war epics make billions of dollars. Like he's one of those directors that when you hear the name Steven Spielberg, that is someone that everyone takes with great high respect and takes serious. Coming in at number 7 is my favorite multi-billionaire in world wrestling entertainment. You can't make a video list called Billionaires and call it the Billionaires Boys Club without mentioning Vince McMahon. Been around for 4 decades, inherited the company from his father, took a concept that was not popular on the West Coast, made it popular worldwide, and created a wrestling phenomenon that to this very day wrestling fans know very well. WrestleMania, the showcase of the immortals. So many professional wrestlers were made in the stars by Vince McMahon. And Vince McMahon has become a pioneer. He's got on the Television Hall of Fame. He's got into the Wrestling Hall of Fame. He did try to acquire his own football league. We all know it's called the XFL. We all know he had wrestling and football. We know he had the bodybuilding federation. That was like 30 years ago. Most people don't even remember that Vince McMahon did create his own bodybuilding tournament. And a lot of people don't know the story, but that's how Lex Luger got into professional wrestling. Lex Luger went from football to bodybuilding to breaking into professional wrestling, and Vince McMahon saw a star in Lex Luger, and that's how Lex Luger got into WWE. And Vince McMahon has made a lot of business ventures. And Vince McMahon's a very intelligent man. Now, I know some people are going to say, well, Vince McMahon is, well, if you're looking at Vince McMahon when he plays his character on TV, that's just on television. Behind the scenes, he's actually a different type of person once you get to know him, and we all have our Vince McMahon special moments in wrestling. One of my favorite Vince McMahon moments is Vince McMahon versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, where they wrestled in three wrestling matches. Briscoe Patterson and Pat Patterson, the Patterson brothers. God rest their soul, rest in peace. They're wrestling legends from the 70s and the 80s. And these guys would teach Vince how to do wrestling because he needed to prove to Stone Cold Steve Austin that he was the boss. And one of my favorite wrestling segments is when Stone Cold got in the ring. You could hear Vince McMahon with that deep voice that he always has that make him sound alpha and masculine. You can't beat Vince McMahon tied one hand tied behind your back. And I was like, oh snap. And when he came with his own theme song, no chance, that's what you got. Dun, 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 dun. And when he comes with that $1 billion walk, he comes out all serious. He comes with the deep voice. And especially when he gets tired of dealing with people, he has a famous catchphrase that has caught on for 25 years. You're fired. And it's like, that when he does that, that's it for your career. Your career done. I mean, and it's caught on. And of course, you can't mention other wrestlers like without Undertaker. If you think about it, Undertaker was a big part of that wrestling success. Vince McMahon, Undertaker, they're tight. Vince McMahon is a very important person. Like it's hard to speak to him backstage. Like if Vince wants somebody to be pushed as a superstar, it gets done, no questions asked. And we all have our favorite Vince McMahon moments. Mine seeing him wrestle Stone Cold in three matches, knocking him off the steel cage. Him getting all swole and jacked. Those were some good wrestling moments back in the 90s and 2000s when television was at the height of its peak. When you went to school, you did an impersonation, whether it was The Rock, Stone Cold, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, John Cena, Undertaker, Kane. But the one thing you can't deny, you did impersonations of the Vince McMahon walk because when he came down, he made it serious. Like he showed you this is what billionaires do. Billionaires can get on the phone and talk to other billionaires. Billionaires can go to Hollywood. Billionaires can sit down next to Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and anybody else that's popular and do it in grand style. He lived the billionaire lifestyle and still is going strong today. Coming in at number 6 is Bill Gates. Some people like Bill Gates, some people do not like Bill Gates. Now, if you watch those Revenge of the Nerd movies, everyone who be imitating the nerd laugh, well, you do know some of those movies are loosely based off his life story of how he made his fortune with Microsoft, how he kind of came in at a point where the company needed a new direction. And every time you get a new cell phone with Microsoft, every time you get a computer, he's the big part of reason why your technology has evolved and gotten better over the years. Now I know he's recently made some noise of recently, but he's a billionaire, and most billionaires are going to speak their mind intelligently. And sometimes when you're a nerd, and I know what it feels like to be a nerd, because back in the junior high and high school, I got laughed, teased, and made fun of, and I kind of get where a lot of these billionaires come from when they get teased and made fun of. But he is one of those guys that is going to speak his mind, and he's a billionaire for a specific reason. He takes risks. Coming in at number five is Steve Jobs. Now, Steve Jobs is a guy that I always admired for his tenacity, his intelligence, the way he went about doing things. When he saw a problem, he didn't want to hear it's impossible, it can't be done. He was someone that it's gonna get done, whether it takes a hundred hours, it's gonna get done. He made Apple into a juggernaut. He made Apple into what it is today. He improved your software. He used to work for Disney company, Disney Plix. He used to work for Microsoft once upon a time, and then he worked for Apple. And then he eventually started to create making technology evolve to what it is today. And to me, if he was alive today, he would probably create some special app that would help you when it came to anything you needed. And to me, you need more people like that. Coming in at number four is Jeff Bezos. We all know who he is, Amazon. If it weren't for Jeff Bezos coming in the late 1990s, early 2000s, a lot of people don't know the story. He did work for a company, and then he eventually became an entrepreneur, and then he started getting into the stocks trades, and then he got some money, and then he created the thing called Amazon. Now, in the beginning, people were not really optimistic on his approach on how Amazon would really become the new way of how you would order stuff online. At that time, it was eBay. And as time went on, he surpassed eBay. He would surpass Best Buy. He would surpass all these other places that you would go online and order stuff. And now he has now become one of the most richest billionaires in history because everyone gets everything from Amazon: clothes, shoes, food, you name it, phones, cell phone chargers, DVD players, your exercise equipment. You now get it from Amazon. And he is a genius because he saw 20 or 30 years into the future and saw this is what's going to be the thing that if you want to be a billionaire, this is the blueprints that you're going to need if you want to be successful. So you gotta take your hat off to somebody like Jeff Bezos. Now I know some people are kind of like upset because he's bragging about his money. Well, here's the thing: if we were all rich and famous and we were all multi-billionaires, we probably would be bragging too. But the thing is, he's doing it with fun, not like to be ha ha ha, I'm rich and famous and you're not type of thing. Even though we know there are some billionaires that do that, there are some billionaires that are quiet and very humble. Coming in at number three is Elon Musk. You've seen Iron Man, right? Well, that to me, that is Tony Stark Iron Man. The fact that he's in the robot tech industry, he did something that people laughed at in the late 90s, early 2000s, and look where he is today. The man has somehow figured out his artificial intelligence and made the artificial intelligence be able to do things that you see in those science fiction films. And it's now estimated that in the next 15, 20 years from now, you're going to be seeing stuff like Ghost in the Shell become a reality. And he's figured out how to get cars to drive. He's figured out how to get cars to talk. Pretty soon, we're going to get your television talking to you. That's probably going to come next. Pretty soon, you're probably going to get your microwave talking to you, your stove talking to you. Wait until he gets to that level. That's when he's going to really do something in history that hasn't been seen or heard ever since. That's why he's very high on this list because he took a concept that people said it could never be done and it's getting done. Coming in at number two is multi-billionaire. Do you even have a key? Do you even have a key? Well, you gotta have a key to get back here. If you got back here, you gotta have a key to get out. You gotta find somebody to have the key. All right, sorry about that, people. We have somebody back here cleaning the alley, and they need a key. So I apologize for the minor interruption. But Eli Musk is one of those guys that's gonna turn science fiction into science reality. You ready? All right, coming in at number two is multi-billionaire Bob Iger. Nothing happens without this man say so. He's the guy who writes your checks at Disneyland, okay? I don't care if it's California Disney Adventure, Disneyland. This is the guy who writes your checks. This is the guy who gives you your money, and he's the guy that could pop up at your job at Disneyland, surprise you. He's a nice guy once you get to know him. The guy is on the television sets of movies and television shows and who produced all those new Star Wars films, who takes their own money and pumps it into those Star Wars movies that we've been seeing. Yeah, it's him. And this is a nice person to get to know. This guy will come to bat for his coworkers. This guy will do whatever it takes to get the best deal in town. So he's pretty resilient in how he figures out how to take old business models, remodify them, restructure them, and give them a new purpose of business. And he's good with negotiating tactics. So that's what I like about Bob Iger. He's diplomatic. All right, now coming in for the number one multi-billionaire who's now in the Billionaires Boys Club, Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook. Now, I know some of y'all probably might spit out your Coca-Cola, your Pepsi, your apple juice, your orange juice, your Mountain Dew. You heard what I said. At number one is Mark Zuckerberg. Now, I know a lot of y'all gonna be like, but this guy's yes, he's the youngest billionaire in billionaire history. Usually, you got to be in your late 40s, 50s, or 60s, or even 70s to be a multi-billionaire. He did this when he just graduated from high school or college and created a social media platform that we all use for the past 20 years or almost 20 years, and that's Facebook. And it has been a part of our daily life. Sorry, got a police helicopter. Nothing I can do about that. And he has been a part of that for a long time. Like, to connect with people from high school and college. If it weren't for him, there probably would have never been no classmates.com. Now, there was MySpace that came before Facebook, but that guy is not as well known as Mark Zuckerberg. And I know it's a tragedy because Tom really deserved to be on this list, and he's not on this list. So these were 10 people on the list. I will make a part two, so relax. I will get to a part two, and I will mention some more billionaires. Until next time, peace.